seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. I'm here with my partner in crime, Stop the FOMO. FOMO. Today's session
Yes.
is going to be on brand loyalty, or
Yes.
the fanboys, or what people are buying, why they're buying. And you did an interesting video about Panasonic and about people buying for upfront picture quality, but not maybe the customer care that comes after it. So the Panasonic conundrum and the news that maybe if they don't sell enough, they might move away from the industry, I thought would spark more fandom or more defense for Panasonic. So that was one part. Then TCL's new QM6K is a TV, first TV we were reviewed. I put it against
Mhm.
the Sony Bravia 7, and I saw very conflicting comments of not wanting to leave Sony or not ready to go with TCL. TCL and Hisense still have to prove themselves as far as being reliable. But FOMO, what I saw was a confusion among fandom. I saw people that were very conflicted. Now, I think Sony and LG are very dedicated with their fans, but I think Panasonic had the most loyal because the people have been screaming for those TVs to come back. FOMO. Now that they're back, when there was the news that they might leave, I saw very little defense from their fans. So let's talk quickly about brand loyalty. Where are you, or what do you see now in the landscape of brand loyalty?
So it's very interesting. I put up a poll preceding my live stream about saving Panasonic, and in the poll, I asked, "Why would you buy a TV?" And number one was price to value ratio. That was something that 50% or a little bit over 50%, that's what the consumers want. And then below that would be customer support, reliability, all that stuff, right? The quality of the product, which was, I think, well represented by Panasonic with what they've done with the whole special
Yeah.
thermal flow fan or whatever. But then something else was interesting was a lot of people said, look, if it's that good, why is it only a 1 year warranty? I mean, if you're going to build it to that spec, give me 2 years. Put your money where your mouth is, basically, right? And to that response is, well, once you spent so much money and resources on making it better, there's nothing left to extend the warranty. So you can't have it both ways, right? Because if you don't put any money into it, then you have money left to expend, because warranty costs money for the life of the pat or the 2 years after purchase. So everything costs money, and that's my response to that. But what was very clear is in our audience, 50% are not brand loyal. They're looking at value to performance, and that's why our reviews are so important. We focus on the performance, and then we give them the price. And at the end, what do we say? Well, this will give you the most bang for the buck. They're listening for that bang for the buck. So if your buck is 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000, I guess there is no value at 10,000, but 1 or 2,000, you have $2,000, you can get a 65-inch, good flagship Sony, or you can get a 98-inch above average Hisense or TCL. And they're going with a 98-inch, same price as the Sony, but 2 sizes up, 3 sizes up. And there is no brand loyalty here. People want a 98-inch TV in their house. They're not waiting for Sony to have a 98-inch at 2,000. They're just getting whatever they can. So based on our live stream and the comments that came afterwards, the brand loyalty is for a smaller niche. Like you said, there are Panasonic people that want them back. Well, 100 people cannot run a business, right? You got 100 fans, all 100 of them buy new Panasonic.
Yeah.
They need to
Yeah.
sell a million TVs. You got 100 people buying TVs. So these are your most vocal fans. But what
Yeah.
happened to the other 900,000, right? So that's the problem.
So quickly talking about Panasonic, that was the last brand that I was brand loyal to, where I did less research back when I bought their last plasma. And
Hmm.
when I was contacted, when we were both contacted about them coming back, and I sat with them, I had no idea what was coming out. And the Osaka team was there, everybody was there, and I was like a little kid. I was like meeting I was like a fan meeting them because these guys have been part of the company for many years. And our time on YouTube, FOMO, all we've ever heard is wait until we hear about what Panasonic or no, I guess Philips too, but mostly it was Panasonic. So I
Right.
thought
The
like, oh my God,
Europeans were very proud of Panasonic. Yeah.
yeah, and you know what? If they're not in the mix, you can't even choose a winner. Which is why the Value Electronics shootout was here. But everyone said let's wait for HTV tests shootout because Panasonic is in that mix. And I agreed. You know, I can't wait to see them. And when they came back, I was amped to have them back. I love them. I love their products. And then when I had this comment from the president saying he may pull out, I was waiting for the Panasonic fans to say, "Please don't go." And all I got from them was doubt. Like,
Hmm.
"Hey, I don't know if they got a Fire TV." Even the ones that loved it were like, "I'm not gonna touch that." And with you saying about Sony, even the biggest Sony fans are like, "I don't know, man, it's a little too much money," even though they're cheaper than they've ever been.
Yep.
So, brand loyalty, FOMO, for you, cars, game consoles, your products you buy in your everyday life, aside from TVs, are you brand loyal or do you just go with whatever you think is the best this year?
I
Yourself.
am. So, yes, so for myself, there are two types of cars I buy. The one that's reliable, that needs to take, it's an appliance, a reliable appliance. Get the
Mhm.
kids to school every day and don't break down. Toyota, Sienna, Camry, Honda Accord, whatever. I had all of those. And then you have your Porsche, your dream car that you buy. I'm brand loyal to my nostalgia car
Gotcha.
because that car is special, right? It's the one that I will baby because so I'm separating the appliance from the experience. Owning a Porsche, driving a Porsche, that's an experience. I'm loyal to that experience because it's unique. And you got people with a Corvette, they love that, or a Ferrari, or BMW, they all have their thing. And I get it, right? I've had a BMW, I love the inline six, right? Oh, perfectly balanced engine, but I still, like, I'd rather get a used Porsche than a new BMW because I realize, you know what, I just like the small tightness, the feel of it all, but it's a unique experience. So how do you translate that to a TV? Gamers have that bond with their card, right? You got the AMD fan, you got the NVIDIA, you got the Intel versus AMD, right? You got PC versus Mac. Well, Mac's more of an appliance, but still, right? There's still that
It's
sense
Sega,
of
Nintendo. Yep.
iPhone versus, because it's an experience. Gamers, that's an experiential ownership, right? With the games and how the company treats you, with their special Easter eggs or whatnot. Until TVs learn to take that level of engagement and make it about the experience, TCL and Hisense, appliance. I've spoken to their team. They're very much an appliance company.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what the TV does. Oh, you want specs? These are the specs. It's very it's driven by the features that the people need. There's no passion, there's no personality. Sony is very much an entertainment company.
Yep.
They're in the DNA. There's something about it. So that's why the whole bringing cinema home. It's if you look at all the brands, they're very focused on that experience. That's why they connected us with Culver City and doing the
Yep.
whole MGM,
Yeah. Yeah.
Columbia, right?
LA. Yep.
It's that so they're doing it the right way to build that loyalty. The problem is the TVs don't do a good job translating that because when you turn it on, it literally looks like any other TV. I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
getting that cinema home thing
Yeah.
beyond
Which
the image quality, right? But I'm not like, hey, Bob Hope is gonna come by your house. Well, he'd be a ghost, but it's like
you
there's nothing about that.
Bob Hope, you and I are so old. You're like Columbo.
I
But
know.
FOMO,
Carol Burnett.
well, FOMO, if you Carol Burnett, that's going to be the new thing versus Columbo. But if you stop where you are now, FOMO, the reason why Sony has that is from top to bottom. They sell projectors, they sell cameras, they sell
Yes,
professional cameras
yes.
that make the movies. Panasonic has some of that as well, had more of that years ago than they do now. But a really interesting point, FOMO, was what you're saying is what really separates that to say I like my Sony? For me with Sony, it's build quality, it's design. Samsung especially is the best looking TV off. The
Hmm.
900 series, those TVs are gorgeous. The
And,
best
and
ones.
Brian, you said Samsung. They did it right. They took that experience to the extreme. It's not a TV, the frame is art. So the loyalty is with the frame, not with their flagship TVs. People are willing to pay more than flagship for a frame. The frame costs more than the S90D. Can I
Yeah.
repeat that? And the people who buy the frame, you're like, wait, the S90 goes, I don't care. I need a frame.
No, it's your wife's TV
And
anyway.
that is that
Yeah.
is the moment that all manufacturers have to study the consumer habit of the guy or girl that buys a Samsung frame. They don't care about the price. They don't care about the image quality. It's that
No.
experience, that
Well,
whole subscription to art and whatever,
yeah.
personalization, right?
Well, and we saw that at CES where everyone's like, why'd they go to the anti-glare throughout the lineup? And you're like, it's
Hmm.
not about the anti-glare. It's about a matte looking screen to display art. It's not about
That's it.
sunlight. It's not about light. But if you have a TV and you put a frame on it and it's glossy, people know. How many paintings have you seen that are glossy? Maybe the pictures of your kids, but like you don't buy a work of art, you don't buy the Mona Lisa and put a glossy screen on it. So they look
Yep.
fake. But when you see one of these pieces from Sam, especially the new ones they had at CES, they look like art. And people that have the money
Hmm.
to buy them do not want short throw projectors. They don't want big pieces of plastic or metal. They really want something that looks like a painting, and these TVs do it. So they do share that experience. But I would say
Hmm.
Samsung might have the weakest loyalty simply because the most
You mean
common person
outside the frame?
outside the frame. Yeah. So I think the
Yeah.
Samsung people that walk in, because we know Samsung, they buy, they leave, right?
Hmm.
They're the ones that walk right into BJ's, Walmart, Costco. They buy the first thing they see. We have some dedicated Samsung people, but very rarely in our Samsung videos do I have somebody saying Samsung is the best. Almost never,
Okay,
actually.
so
Or do you
this
see
is
that?
enthusiast. This is I see that anecdotal evidence. So I spoke to my friend who shall be unnamed, who's a Sony rep at Best Buy, and he's observing customer habits, and then he calls me up and says, "I don't get it." I go, "What do you mean?" I'm
Oh, I know.
watching
Yeah,
how the
yeah,
sales rep, right, are selling Samsung and Sony, and the Best Buy sales rep sees the Sony rep, my friend, watching, so he wants to impress him. The customer goes, "This Sony is all these great things.
yeah.
What do you
I'll
think?"
take
I go,
this
"That
one.
looks really good."
I'll take this
And then
other
he
one.
goes, "So what are you gonna get?" "I'll get the Samsung." "Why?"
Well,
I
so
I, I heard the Samsung's a better TV.
yeah,
Uh,
so
And
so
the
it's
image quality looked clearly better
because
because the guy was
well,
playing with all these things,
yeah,
and
and I
that's
talk.
brand loyalty right there.
Yeah, so you know what, you're right. So again, here's the difference. That's brand loyalty versus fandom. So I should reiterate it.
Yes.
When
Yes.
I walked in with my father-in-law years ago to
Wait.
Costco.
Did I tell you my explanation to him why Samsung won right there? This is
Name?
why. It has nothing to do with the TV.
No, it's the
The
name.
guy probably owns a Samsung phone,
Yep.
a Samsung watch,
Sure.
Samsung
No, I
washer and
got it.
dryer,
No,
Samsung refrigerator, and you're like, I don't know TVs. Yeah, the Sony looks good, but I haven't gone wrong with Samsung yet. Same
yeah, which is
mentality for the
yeah, of
Apple buyers, right? I haven't gone wrong with an
course.
Apple product yet. I know Apple headphones don't get any love, but I'll just take the Apple headphone. I'm just going to play it safe.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
That's where Samsung wins. And that
Well, and
is
that's
brand loyalty.
well, and so it's an interesting brand loyalty because I guess I should have said I don't hear brand loyalty among enthusiasts. That's what I should have said because
No,
the who
yes.
those of you. So we're really quick in the comments while you guys watch these live. We love you guys. We premiere these. What is your brand that you're loyal to? And we talked about PC gaming, right? So I'm an Nvidia guy, not because I give a crap about Nvidia. Could care less. They're the best. They have the highest end GPUs.
Best
Right now they're
firmware, it's stable, all that.
that's it. That's all. The minute that AMD is better, they're gone. Right? I've had
Hmm.
Jeeps. I love Jeeps. I don't like the way they look now. It's gone. I have a Bronco. So I really don't have any brand loyalty. I have an LG C series. I'll buy a G5 because it's going to be the largest OLED that has what I need. It's not because
Hmm.
it's LG. Now,
Hmm.
full transparency, we have friends at all these companies. We want them all, and they're friends. They're not just marketing people. We have people we care about, so we love all the brands. But as far as for our personal buying, that TV behind me was bought because it fit my specific needs at that time. I'll change that on a dime the minute someone does something better. But then again, we're influencers, we're YouTubers, whatever we are, FOMO. We don't have these as love affairs. They last for a couple of years and we're done. So
Not even that long.
yeah, but so if I take you out of your influencer hat and
Hmm.
say, okay, FOMO, you and I are done with YouTube today. It's our last day. do you look at it and say to yourself, "There's a brand I stick with because of XYZ?" For yourself
Yes,
personally, right now, talk to me.
I'd get a Sony.
Ooh,
And you know why? I've had all these TVs come and go.
too many. We got 9 of
Panasonic,
them here now.
Samsung, all of them,
Yeah,
right? TCL. And the one TV that my wife consistently is able to spot, is that a Sony? I go, yeah,
yep,
can you tell? I just like the look.
yep,
And she always tells me, if you bring a TV home, I just want the Sony.
yep.
And for her to be able to say that on a consistent basis, whether it was the A90J, A95L, A95K, I'm like, okay. I mean, to me, they all look great, honestly, right? We're
Yeah.
just splitting hairs. So I want my family to be happy. So it'd probably be the largest Sony I can afford. That would be my TV because there's something about it that consistently pleases her eye, and I trust it because she's not a reviewer. She's just watching old TV shows, right? All types of TV shows.
Yeah.
And that's important to me. And I know the brand really well. So I'm not, it's not like a crapshoot. I just pay a little bit more, which I'm fine with because I know what I'm paying for. So for me, it's less about brand loyalty per se, but more about this consistency because I've owned Sonys in the past
Yep.
before I became a reviewer, and so have my parents. I mean, they watch Samsung now, but in their other bedroom, it's actually a Sony,
Leftovers.
right?
Yeah,
For
yeah,
whatever reason. So
yeah. Well, and I think the reliability FOMO, my Sonys still function from however
yes,
long
yeah.
because we give our
My
TVs
mom has
away.
a 9-year-old Sony LCD TV that
Yeah,
she still loves. Yeah.
yeah. So for me, Sony, for what I have it for, which is why I own them, is it's the set it and forget it mentality. The
Yeah.
image quality, I don't care how many presets they have. When I watch something, you can leave it on professional. Where other
Mhm.
TVs, I'm not watching that in Filmmaker. I'm okay with Sony being a professional the entire time or custom from a few years ago. I don't
Mhm.
have to even look for the remote. Every other manufacturer, I'm reaching for the remote depending on what is on screen. Other than Panasonic, Panasonic's the same way.
Right,
They're
right.
set it and forget it as well because all their presets are equal. But the fandom part of it, I think, is interesting. They're going for something, but I see, and this is where I want to ask you guys. I see the fandom dying out. I think people want to get more bang for their buck. They're going to go with the Sony if they think Sony is the best now versus just go
Well,
Sony.
you know what? You had a anecdote earlier, which is when Sony drops their prices, suddenly people are interested.
Oh yeah,
So it's not that people don't want the Sony, it's back to that whole value proposition.
yeah,
Uh, Is there a value to this proposition? And at 1,500, people will pass. But the minute it hits just below 1,000, Sony can't sell enough of those X90Ls.
yeah. They
And
go
I like
back.
the X90L, but the minute it's within 100 or even 150 of the QM8 or the U8, get the Sony. And I tell them, hey, you know what? You like the look? They look so close. Get the Sony. It's
Yeah,
just that premium is what keeps them away, not the brand.
yeah. And I think LG. What's funny about LG FOMO is that without fail, those are our hottest videos. So
Yeah, people love the LGs. Yeah.
they love LG, but yet they're the ones struggling the most, right?
It's
So
because of of the expense of OLED. Like we all know QLED is not good. Their QLED or
QNED, yeah, yeah, QNED,
QNED, it doesn't come close to what Samsung, Sony, and TCL and Hisense do. So they're a one-trick pony. If you have the money for OLED, can't go wrong with an LG. I think
yep,
that's pretty safe to say
yeah,
for all your uses, right? It's that jack of all trades and
the
so
best at what
close
they
to
do.
mastering.
Yep,
Yeah, they're so good. And I like the G4 as much as I see the Samsung winning here and it's my reference. For everyone else, I would recommend the G4, primarily 5-year warranty, and you will not be able to tell the difference. But I do know sports is brighter, and those two things are important to people. The warranty, watching sports, get the LG because everything I love about the Samsung you won't even see. So,
it's true.
what's the
Well,
point?
and what's funny is for me, Samsung started off my whole how I started my channel with all the defective TVs, but that was a very transitional period for HDR. TVs were getting thinner, they were pushing brighter, blooming was a
Hmm.
real problem. So I would say that's less about Samsung's reliability and the fact that they were trying to get thinner and brighter at the same time, and HDR was highlighting a lot of the issues that we never saw before because the TVs weren't trying to be that bright.
Yeah.
But the brand loyalty thing is also interesting, FOMO, in the world of projectors. You have
Yes.
Valerian, you have these other models that are amazing. They're competing with NZ9s, they're competing with these 20, and also Sony has those as well. But I think the throwaway concept is interesting. I think people have said if it lasts me 3 years, so what? We think that when they first buy it, they don't want in 3 years that they'll yell about it. But you said in your video, FOMO, about the reliability. That's what you're paying for. Let's go the other way. I remember a couple years ago when Hisense UX had an 85 inch. It went
Yeah,
against the X95. We had it at the shootout, and it looked amazing. And
it
all I
did.
saw in the comments is, I am not paying that for a Hisense. So there's brand prejudice to a degree. That word is tough. But
Well,
do you
okay, wait,
think
wait. Let's
that's
stop with the
going away?
irony. The irony is they're not paying that for a Sony either. So,
Oh, yeah,
so
that's what FOMO. That's
Sony,
what's changed.
that's the Sony tax, and Hisense, it's just cheap.
Yeah,
So
so
it's like,
so that's great. So that's great. So think about that. That's 3 years ago. Yeah,
yeah,
2 years ago. So, we
yeah,
talked about this with the A90J at 83. A90J, that TV was $8,000. No one cared.
unbelievable.
Sure, I
Nope.
love it. Now
But
the
oh well,
Bravian.
Robert sold out of those TVs, and people had to
Yeah,
wait months to get the A90J at 83 inches.
yeah, so the G4 2 years later is 6,000. People are out of their mind. And now the projected price of the G5, people are losing their minds. Back when a C9 was 12 grand at
Mhm.
77 inches. So I think, look, money is tight. I understand the economy. I get all that. But enthusiasts typically care less about that. Like you're saying,
Yeah,
the guys
because it's a
guys with
hobby.
Porsche, yeah, but guys with Porsches are not like, well, I can't believe the price.
No, no, wait, wait.
No one
You know
goes
the
to a
guys with
Ferrari
Porsches
dealer.
as well as I do. These same guys with Porsches are carrying TVs out of a Costco in their Porsche.
When I would have
So,
friends, I had friends that had freaking Bentleys. They're like, I got this brand new Samsung. It's amazing. It looks like it's 3D. I'm like, what did you get? Oh, I got the six. Six is the six. Where'd you get it? BJ's. I'm like, you're going to BJ's. You're parking your Bentley outside of BJ's?
pretty
Oh
much.
my God.
And that's the thing. It's like they're rolling with the Rolex or the Patek,
Yep.
but they got themselves literally not even a mid tier, right? Mid tier would be the QN85 or something. It's the Crystal series. That's the largest Crystal series that they think because the value, they're not enthusiasts. That's the problem. It's like buying a car.
It's
If you
just big.
treat
They're
a
like
car
everything's
like
big.
an appliance, you will always get a Highlander, a RAV4, a
Yep.
minivan, right?
Yep.
If you treat a car as a hobby, then you save up for the Corvette, the Miata, that second car that you drive on the weekends. TVs to me are that. It's something that you buy to enjoy everything. Those few 1917, right? Those movies where, oh wow, that was
Yeah.
graded beautifully. Versus if you're only watching CNN and sports, your friend's absolutely right. Why are you getting a G4 if you're only watching CNN and sports?
Yeah.
Get a TCL, right?
Well,
You
and
may
to
have
your
overpaid for the Samsung. Should have gotten the TCL.
and to your point, FOMO, with the gaming, that's why with the with the the A80L versus the C series or the G series, I do go 120 only, and now
Mhm.
144 or 165 or 160, whatever they're going to do. I'll be able to utilize that, and I have the GPU that'll do it. Quickly back to gaming, FOMO. I'll never forget. It was we were kids. It was Nintendo, Atari, and television, ColecoVision,
Coleco.
ColecoVision. But I remember the TurboGrafx 16 from NEC. I had
Mhm.
that. But I'll never forget when Nintendo and Sega were going at it. The Saturn was releasing, and PlayStation was
Yes.
coming out. I didn't give a crap that it was Sony. I just liked what I saw, and that launch is one of the best in history. Mortal Kombat 3, NBA Jam,
Mhm.
Wipeout, Destruction Derby, Toshin Den. They came out with all these amazing games. I dropped Sega in a heartbeat. I didn't go back to them for years.
Yeah.
To Dreamcast is when I went back. So for
Dreamcast. Yep.
me, whatever it is, I'm going with what's best for me immediately. And this video is really wanting to hear about, are you guys in that boat? Now we're on the other end where I'm going for the best of the best that I can get. I'm not buying another Nvidia. There's no way I'm buying a 5090. I have a 4090. So I'm hoping AMD does better. But to me, it means nothing. Brand loyalty to me, I only buy a Android Galaxy because it works well with the tablet and all that other, like your point, lifestyle. Um, but it doesn't mean anything to me. And with TCL and Hisense, I was just waiting every few years for them to refine. things. They had the brute force for the last 3 or 4 years. Now FOMO, it's about refinement. Do you think people will have brand loyalty for TCL and Hisense, or do you think it'll just be a free for all? Will they create their own fans? Is what I'm saying to you.
So TCL and Hisense, how they win brand loyalty is through a proxy. NBA, Hisense, NFL, TCL.
Point. Yep.
They're trying to adopt and promote the sports that you love. So you're thinking, well, I'll be closer to the NBA or the NFL if I buy that TV. I don't think it will work, but you know what? If they spend enough money, maybe. I think TVs are too obviously an appliance. It's like buying a microwave. Am I gonna buy a microwave because LeBron James is on it? Unlikely.
It's a
But
it's
I
a
don't know. I
really
mean, maybe they think Americans are suckers. I don't know.
they definitely are because what's funny is we look at your Best Buy
Wait,
especially.
they definitely are. The Americans are suckers.
We are suckers, no doubt. But you know what's funny, Pomo? I thought about this when I was in that same Best Buy we were talking about. TCL and Hisense have the NBA and the NFL all over their boxes, right?
Yes.
All over their boxes. So in Best Buy, they have a million LGs out in front. So they have the kiosks and the pads, and in front of it they have a bunch of C series. They're all in their brown boxes.
Mhm.
Sony, same thing. Kiosks, pads, brown boxes. LG, Sony, Samsung, same thing. A bunch of generic boxes because of the environment. Here is TCL and Hisense. All this brand, their TVs aren't on the floor. They're in the warehouse. So they have them in Costco and those areas, but it's really kind of wasted because you don't see the boxes at all.
Well, okay. You know what? Let's do this thought experiment. Would TCL do better if they had a hot model on their box? Forget the NFL, just cleavage 80s style, right? Miami Vice. We're talking hot girl in a box sells. Which would you do? Would you go, okay, we can get sponsorship from, one of the Kardashians or whoever, just the name, the girl du jour, whoever that girl is, or NFL? Budget is the same. Like, if we could budget and get the best top models on all these reality shows, whoever, right? Actresses, Scarlett Johansson, I don't care, right? Which do you think would sell more? The hot babe on the TV or the muscular guy on the TV?
Well, I would say,
Well,
to be
actually, let's
honest,
ask the viewers.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
one
yes. Which
would
one
draw
would you
your
buy?
eyes, right?
Well, I'll tell you that the number one selling TV from Samsung is the frame. So my wife's not buying the one with the hot chick on the box. So I think guys, I don't. I think maybe they're buying
Guys are
beer.
buying the TV. Yeah.
Yeah, they're buying the TV, but I don't think they see the. It's an interesting question, but I think for me, it's not brand loyalty; it's feature set that matter. If that feature's
It's the
missing,
what
the
matters?
feature set, whatever the
The
feature is.
features.
So I need 144. That already knocks out Sony for me personally. It knocks out even Panasonic doesn't have an 83. So I already know I need these things. I don't care how good. I remember when the
Right.
QD OLED came out, FOMO. You're like, are you going to go down in size? I'm like, are you out of your mind? Because we had friends that went down to 77.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, no, there's no way. I don't care about that. So for me, it's the features that win the day. In the comments, guys, is brand loyalty important to you? Again, in our videos with the Panasonic, Save Panasonic, I saw people very conflicted.
No, Brian, and also follow up. Why? Like, what
Yeah,
is
why?
it about the brand that you're loyal to? And for
Yeah,
me, the reason I said Sony is I'm very sensitive to skin tones. I like watching faces and
yeah,
just expressions. And I know it looks most natural on a Sony, regardless of the movie, right? There is no exception. They all look good. So I'm loyal to that feature of the
yes,
Sony. And the minute Sony
yeah,
stops doing that, then I will find another TV. So that's another thing is, as long as
yeah.
Sony continues to do that, I'm loyal to that feature. But I'm open to another TV that does the exact same thing or better, right?
Yeah, no, and that's interesting too, FOMO, because we talk about comparing TVs, and I mentioned the presets are very important because these are the same technologies. They look very different on how those presets map out. So for me, it's the signature. They have a very specific, like for years, Samsung was very cartoony and artificial. They've become more accurate over the years. We don't want them looking the same. We want them looking very different.
Yeah.
And I like LG's signature because to me, LG's signature is vibrant but can be realistic at the same time. And
Mhm.
gaming is their main focus. And they've gotten more accurate with their processing. Panasonic, I'm pulling for them. I just have a love for them, and I love their image as well. But I think it's going to be hard without the fans saying, "I'm buying it because it's a Panasonic." I was hoping they would do that because they've been waiting so long, but they hesitated. Oh, it's only on Amazon. It's got a Fire TV, but I love them. But they're not buying with their hearts that way, and I think that's what's interesting about this conversation.
Yeah, I think Panasonic is the only other brand that I would buy for the same reasons on the skin
Oh
tones.
yeah,
I had the exact same experience with the Z95A. I was like,
mhm,
wow, you just schooled the G4 in cinema.
yeah,
G4 is still the better gaming TV, but if I was just to watch movies and stuff, I think in my review I said the same thing. I take this Panasonic and I take it over the Sony A95L because their sports are actually brighter. So
yeah.
that
They have micro
Panasonic
LEDs everywhere.
did a really good job with the MLA and everything. And it got itself closer to QD OLED than the G4 did last year. And so this year, with the new primary RGB tandem OLED technology, I'm excited to see what they can do for sure.
Yeah, and we'll see.
And Sony may have the same technology. So
Yeah, and
now,
yeah, we're gonna
even
have a bu
playing field if that's the case.
so basically and essentially what we're gonna see is like 5 G5s. Basically, they're all gonna be
At
G5s.
the 83-inch size, yep.
Yeah. Well, and we said that with Panasonic, can Panasonic out Sony? And in some ways they did, as far as the way
Oh,
they
yeah.
because with XR Clear, you have a little bit of processing that's sharpened. They have focal point analysis. Panasonic's like just very
But
original.
the public likes that. I keep
Good.
in
Yeah.
Reviewers don't like it,
Yeah. I
critics don't
love it.
like
I like
it.
it, but the
I thought it was cool. So as long as you could enable and disable it, it would please everyone. The problem was last year, the A95L, you could not disable it. So, but
yes,
and LG did the same thing though. Their over sharpening you cannot disable on the G4 either. So let's see what Panasonic does.
well, like for you guys in the comments, this is interesting. And we do these tech therapy videos because very soon we'll have nothing but TV reviews. We'll keep them going, but we're trying to start that conversation. All we do is talk about the story. And the story we did recently was Sony and the resurrection of the LG. And we love to have these conversations with you. We want your participation in the comments. What do you think? What brand are you loyal to? Put a story in the comments about, with your parents and your favorite TV when you were a kid. My first Sony was a Trinitron. I had the Grand Wega projection
I
LCD
had one.
Fomo.
I had
Yeah,
one.
so we had those. But does it still matter to you? And if it does, be loud and proud in the comments about the TV that you love. I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. I'm here with Stop the FOMO. Love you guys. Take care.
Bye bye.